Okay, so let's dive into this incredible story about what happens when a country decides to go all in on solar power. Maybe faster than anyone thought possible. I mean, we're talking about a full-blown nationwide energy revolution. And believe it or not, it's all happening right now. And wow, this picture, it really gets to the heart of this incredible shift. Just think about that. In a single year, Pakistan shot up to become the world's #1 importer of solar panels. This isn't just a gradual change, it really is like a gold rush, but for sunlight. So that naturally leads to a really fascinating question, right? I mean, we always hear about renewable energy as this perfect solution. But what happens when that solution creates its own set of really complex, totally unexpected problems? That's the core of what we're going to dig into. Okay, so to really get why this solar rush even happened, we've got to look at the situation on the ground first. What exactly was pushing millions of people to look to the sky for their power? Well, it was a perfect storm. First off, the national grid, super unreliable. We're talking frustrating, constant blackouts. And at the exact same time, the price for that electricity was just skyrocketing. It doubled in just 3 years. So you're paying more and more for a service you can't even count on. You can see why people were desperate for an alternative. And you guessed it, that alternative was solar. But going solar isn't just one thing. It's not a one-size-fits-all deal. So let's quickly break down the three main flavors of solar systems people were getting. All right, first up, you've got the most common setup, the grid-tied system. You can kind of think of it like a partnership. Your panels power your home during the day, but you're still hooked up to the national grid for backup at night. And here's the kicker. If your panels produce more energy than you're using, you can actually sell that extra juice back to the grid for credit. That's called net metering, and trust me, it's a huge financial game changer. Okay, next, for those who want total energy freedom, there's the off-grid system. This is where you literally cut the cord from the utility company. It's awesome for remote areas, but, and it's a big but, it means you have to shell out for a pretty big battery bank to store power. And last but not least, we've got the hybrid system. This one is basically the best of both worlds. You stay connected to the grid, but you also have a battery for backup. So when the grid inevitably goes down, no problem. Your lights stay on. It really is the ultimate mix of safety and self-sufficiency. So, okay, you've got these new, affordable options, you're getting squeezed by rising electricity costs. What do? Well, millions of Pakistanis started putting solar panels on their roofs at a speed that honestly just blew away experts around the globe. Yeah, this wasn't some slow, gradual trend. This was a rocket launch, a 227% increase in panel imports in just 1 year. That's just a mind-boggling number, and it shows you how fast people jumped on board. And get this, 17 gigawatts. That's the total capacity of panels imported in 2024 alone. Now, to put that number in perspective for you, that is a colossal amount of potential power. It's actually more than a third of the country's entire existing power grid capacity, all brought in within just 12 months. It's just wild. So, what was driving this madness? Well, a big part of it was simple economics. See, there was this global glut of Chinese-made panels, which made their prices just plummet. All of a sudden, the math made perfect sense. For an average homeowner, a solar system could pay for itself in as little as 3 years. It went from being a luxury to a no-brainer investment. But, and here's where our story takes a turn. This massive, super-fast solar boom had a consequence that, well, nobody really saw coming. It ended up sending a massive shockwave through the country's entire energy system. And this chart just perfectly captures the paradox at the heart of all this. Look at this. The national grid added millions of new customers. So you'd think their electricity sales would go up, right? I mean, that's just common sense. But no, they actually went down. How on earth is that even possible? Well, this strange phenomenon actually has a name. It's called grid defection. It's what happens when paying customers, both the old ones and the new ones, start making their own electricity. They're still physically connected to the grid, sure, but they're buying way, way less power from it. And in some cases, they're not buying any at all. And guess what? Batteries are like pouring gasoline on this fire. Just look at these numbers. Even a small battery lets a homeowner generate a good chunk of their own power. A bigger battery? They could be covering over a quarter of their own needs.
So every single battery that gets installed means less money going into the pocket of the national grid.
So you can see this isn't just some dry, technical problem. This is about people. And what's happening is it's creating a brand new and pretty troubling kind of inequality. Yeah, this quote from the Washington Post really hits the nail on the head. Think about it. A power grid has massive fixed costs. The power plants, all the transmission lines, the people who work there. When millions of the wealthier customers who can afford solar suddenly start paying way less, the utility doesn't just eat that cost. No, it has to get that money from somewhere. And that somewhere is the people who are left. And right there, that's it. That's how you get this deep, growing energy divide. You have the energy rich, the people who can afford the upfront cost of solar panels, and they get to escape the high prices. But then you have the energy poor, those who can't afford it. And they're the ones left holding the bag, forced to pay even more to prop up a system that's becoming more and more unstable. This whole situation leaves Pakistan, and honestly any country going through a rapid energy shift like this, at a major crossroads. And there are no easy signs pointing the way forward. And this really boils it all down to the central conflict, the main tension here. On one side, you have this amazing thing, individual energy freedom, the power for people to generate their own cheap, clean, reliable electricity. But on the other side, you have the absolute necessity of a stable public grid that can serve everyone, especially the people who need it most. And so, that leaves us with the billion-dollar question, doesn't it? Can a country actually have both? How do you balance those two things? How do you push forward a green energy revolution without accidentally leaving millions of people behind in the dark? Figuring that out, well, that's one of the biggest challenges we're facing today.